Good morning, everyone. So this was a difficult task to complete, namely because I had a difficult time choosing my preferred field. The truth of the matter is that I do love history, and picking a field is quite challenging to do. After much deliberation this week, I decided to settle on the idea of Western expansion. I do love this field a lot because I feel that often when people think of where the United States of America is at today, they forget about everything that had to happen for this country to even reach that point. This is where the idea of Western expansion comes in. The period of expansion really started in the 1790s and initially peaked in 1803 with the Louisiana Purchase. There was not another instance of land acquisition until the United States acquired the Red River Valley, which was previously under British control, in which this land acquisition came with the declaration of the Anglo-American Convention of 1818, which established the official U.S.-Canada border. A year later, they purchased Florida from Spain in what was known as the Adams-Onis Treaty. And then the next land acquisition did not occur until 1845 with the annexation of Texas, and then in 1846, the Oregon Treaty was signed, which established the American and Canadian border at the 49th parallel. The final three land acquisitions completed what is now the whole United States, excluding Hawaii, which didn't come till 1898. And they were the Mexican Cession of 1848, the Gadsden Purchase of 1853, and the Alaska Treaty, known popularly as Seward's Folly, in 1867. As one can see, these land acquisitions came together over the years like one very large puzzle. If you have an attention span like I do, you would see that the amount of time to completion is accurate as well, 60 to 70 years. So a lot of people also do not realize what had to happen for all these land acquisitions to occur. We are talking about billions of dollars spent, constant conflict, and more importantly, the continuous uprooting and scattering of the many Native American tribes over the course of the 60-plus years that this expansion was taking place. The sad thing about it is that many people claim this to be the will of God, and that we were to expand from east to west as far as we could go. It did not matter what, or more importantly, who stood in our way. They could either assimilate or get out the way. This idea was called manifest destiny and was believed to be coined by a man named John O'Sullivan in 1845. This has been a relatively popular topic of discussion and dissertation writing, and is understandable because the idea of manifest destiny really became the drive for Americans in the 19th century. The sad truth, however, is that in getting caught up in belief in manifest destiny, we were gaining so much at the expense of an entire nation in the name of God. So we said. Native American tribes were ravaged, and in this nation's early quest for land and power, wars were fought, and money was spent, and blood was spilled, in making it all happen. There are two dissertations I want to talk about, and the first one is Jefferson's Quest for a Virtuous Republic, the Political Economics of Indian Removal. It was published in 1996, and the writer chooses to focus on the fact that President Thomas Jefferson's policy of Indian removal was linked to his commitment to republicanism. His policy was developed as a means to fulfill his vision of a virtuous republic of independent white farmers. He concludes by acknowledging that Jefferson's beliefs only fueled Andrew Jackson's more self-centered and aggressive approach later to expansion and the ravaging and removal of Native American populations that occurred along the way. The writer also asserts that at the time of American expansion, Jefferson sought to create a virtuous republic with enough space for the American people. He received a lot of political pressure to make this happen whatever way possible, and he even had his own predispositions toward the removal of Native Americans off of American land if they failed to assimilate. The writer used a variety of newspapers, manuscripts, government documents, and monographs to complete his dissertation. The second dissertation I would like to discuss is called The Debate over Indian Removal in the 1830s. I like this one a lot because it focuses primarily on the fact that the American people demanded their rights and their freedom from British opposition and rule in the 1700s, but by the 1800s, the American people had shifted their focus toward the Native Americans and how best to remove them in their quest for expansion. The writer states that this proposed Indian removal debated in the U.S. Congress was a straightforward expression of that expansionism that Great Britain had exercised on the American colonies in the previous century. In other words, the United States was Great Britain when it came to dealing with the Native American inhabitants on either American soil or future American soil. Either they assimilate or get out. The writer essentially concludes that the policies regarding expansion and Native American removal contributed to many notions of nationalism and superiority in regard to other nations and minorities. The writer looks to have used many books and appears to have had access to databases like the ones available through the Jerry Falwell Library. So that's where I decided to go with this topic on Western expansion. I don't think it's going to be the preferred field I stick with, but it's also a really important one that we could talk about a lot. I'm looking forward to learning all the other topics and listening to the other videos, and I hope this is going to be a really great semester for everyone. I thank you guys for your time.